Welcome back to another week of fun math. We are going to be looking at equivalent fractions today, and you might be saying, wait, we're studying decimals. Why are we doing equivalent fractions? Well, we're going to start looking at some fractions that have denominators of 10 and 100. If you will remember from our previous lessons, I can take a decimal and turn it into a fraction. And when I do that, my fractions are in the tenths and 100ths place because that aligns to our place value in decimals. And when we write a decimal as a fraction, it should have a denominator of tenths and 100ths. So what we're going to focus on for our equivalent fractions today is just denominators of 10 and 100. This should be a pretty good review for you, and it's actually easier than finding equivalent fractions when we can use any denominator out there because we're stuck with only two denominators we can use. So let's start with the fraction 3/10. I want to find an equivalent fraction for 3/10, and I need it to have a denominator of 100. So I have to think, if I have a denominator of 100, what should I multiply 10 by to get to 100? 10. We just have to multiply by 10. That's why this is easier than other equivalent fractions, because I'm just multiplying by 10. If I do it to the denominator, I must also multiply the numerator. 3 times 10 is 30. So 3/10 and 30/100ths are equivalent. Let's try another one. Let's do 4/10. Now once again, my denominator needs to be 100. What am I going to multiply 10 by to get to 100? Again, it's just multiplying by 10. If I do it to the denominator, I must do it to the numerator. 4 times 10 is 40. So 3/10 is equivalent to 30/100ths. 4/10 is equivalent to 40/100ths. Let's look at a picture representation of what we just did. So let's go back up to the 3/10. I have my hundreds square here again, and if you will remember, this is my one whole, and I've broken it into 100 pieces. If I just take this section right here, and if I color it in like this, this would be 1/10. So last time I did have a chart that looked like this. That was my tenths. This piece is the same as this, but for right now I'm just going to be using this one chart. So I'm going to get rid of this one, but these are my tenths. So this part I shaded in green, that would be 1/10. So if I had 1/10, and then I have another tenth, I'm going to make it in a different color so it's easier for you to see. So here's my second tenth. And then I have a third tenth right here. That is equivalent to the 3/10. If I went and I counted each one of these little boxes, I would find that there are 30 of them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and count every single one, but I have 10 in the green, I have 10 red boxes, and I have 10 blue boxes. So that is 30 boxes total. Those are my hundredths, so I would have 30 hundredths. If I went and I shaded in 4/10, that would be another one of these blocks right here, or another piece like this. That's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 10 small little boxes. So if I added that together, it would come up to be 40. 40/100ths is the same thing as 4/10. Now let's look at how I would take something like 10/100ths, and I need to find an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of tenths. I want to go from the hundredths to the tenths. What would I do? How am I going to get 100 to be 10? I can't multiply anything times 100 to get 10, but I can divide. 100 divided by 10 equals 10. Can I do 10 divided by 10? Yes, I can. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So if I were to do this as a picture, I have 10/100ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10/100ths is the same thing as 1/10. Do you see that? So I can do this again. This time I'm going to do, let's do 80 100ths. I am not going to shade in 80 little boxes. We don't have time for that, but I want 80 100ths. I want to know what an equivalent fraction would be if I were looking for a denominator of 10. So I'm going to divide both of them by 10 again. Do you see how I said this is pretty easy because I'm either multiplying or dividing by 10 every time? I'm going to divide by 10. 100 divided by 10 is 10. 80 divided by 10 is 8. So if I were to come back to this picture over here, if I shaded in 80 small little boxes, it would be the same thing as 8/10. So there's our equivalent fractions. Now you do have to be a little careful because if I have a fraction like 56 hundredths, I can't make that into tenths. That is as simplified as it can be because that is going to be the same thing as 5/10 and 6/100. I cannot divide 56 by 10. So we're only doing this with kind of simple numbers over here. So that's what we're dealing with today. All right, go on over to the practice video and have some fun.